Okay, in this video I want to talk a little bit about using the linear pattern tool. So we're going to start out by making a rectangle. Let's make it, let's see here, maybe 200 by 400. That looks maybe 300. There we go. And let's extrude that just a little bit. So we're going to do like a 5mm extrude. So we kind of have this this thin sheet here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shape like a rectangular cut in one corner. And I want that cut to be kind of patterned a couple times upwards and a couple times to the right. I'm not going to do all the dimensions to make sure it's like perfectly patterned in this. I just want to give you a rough idea of how it works. So let's open a sketch and let's say that we have this rectangular shape here and we want this to be, let's say, 10mm off the edge there. We want it to be 10mm off the edge here. I want this to be 15mm by 25. So I have this little rectangle here that is 10mm off each of the sides. And I'm going to extrude that cut. So I'm going to go extrude cut and say, I want to make sure it punches through the bottom, so 5mm is fine. So we have this shape here with the single little rectangle. Now what I want is I want to create a pattern where I have 4 of these rectangles, so 4 more extending off in this direction, and I want a pattern of 5, I think, extending upwards, and I want them spaced 5mm from each other. So we're going to open up linear pattern, and the first thing it asks me is what's direction 1. So I'm going to click the bottom edge here for direction 1. Then it says, hey, what's direction 2? So I'm going to click the up-down edge there for direction 2. Currently my spacing is 10mm. Since these are 15mm and I want an extra 5, I think I need to make the spacing to 20. Okay, and now I got, since there's 3 of them, I got 3 copies of that shape with 5mm gaps in between them. We said we wanted there to be 4 of those rectangles in this direction, and then I wanted there to be 5 upwards. So this thing is 25 tall. If there's 5 spacing, I need to make it 30. So the distance needs to be 30. And I wanted 5 of those upwards. So now I have my pattern that I was wanting. It's 4 rectangles this way, 5 tall, and we'll say, okay, let's do that. And so I've got my base shape and I've cut this little pattern out. Now on the base shape, let's say I want to create kind of a large, the rest of this stuff that's not that little bit, I want to cut it out and I want it spaced kind of similarly. Oops. Okay, so what I did here is I extended, these two don't meet very well, so I like using the scissors to just kind of clip the ends off. So let's see here, let's set this to be 10mm off the edge there, 10mm off the edge here, 10mm off the edge here, and down here 10mm off the edge. Whoops. Press the delete key, U to U, 10mm. And then this I want to be 5mm. I want it to match the spacing of the grate for the rest of this stuff. You know what? I want to add a, I don't like the way this is gonna look, so I do want to extend this out 5mm, and I want to extend this across 5mm, and let me re-clip this because there's overlapping between stuff now. Making some mistakes here. Okay, I want that like that. And then I'm going to retrim the stuff here, there, there. And I want to extrude these cuts on through. And we'll say, okay, that's good enough. That's kind of the shape I want now, suppose. And let's say we want to make this out of some sort of aluminum alloy. So we can right click on materials. Okay, so I could just do what I did the other video, and I could go back to appearances here, and I could go through and I could look under aluminums, and I could set this to have some sort of aluminum appearance, but that wouldn't update the material. So what I want to do is, I want the material to update so I could look at like the mass and the properties of it. So I can right click here, I can go to edit material. I got to give my computer a minute to think because for whatever reason it takes a little while to pop up edit material on these. There we go. Let's see, we wanted aluminum alloys, and let's say I want the 1315 alloy, so I can apply that. So now my materials, instead of saying materials, says 1315 alloy. I'm going to X out. So this now has that aluminum appearance added to it. It's kind of hard to see, but it's now takes that aluminum appearance. And if I go to evaluate and I go to mass properties, it can tell me like what's the mass, what's the volume, what's the surface area, what's the center of mass. These mass and center of mass calculations, if you forget to choose, like if you don't have a specific material type, it'll be just the default mass, which probably if you're building something's not what you want. So most of the times if you're told a part's supposed to be made out of a certain material, you have to load the material in there so that your stuff here is okay. Okay, so we'll say that's good enough there. Stop on that part.